Well, it is a live Penguins chat. Hello, I'm Dan Kingerski from Pittsburgh Hockey Now, Pittsburgh Sports Live. With me today from Pens Initiative to represent the Penguins blogosphere, Beth. Okay, let's take two. It is the live Penguins video chat here on Pittsburgh Sports Live with I'm Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. With me to represent the Penguins blogosphere is Beth Mincin from Pens Initiative.
Hey, what's up, guys?
You know, I guess we should turn the sound off of the laptop. And
Just like to hear ourselves.
Yeah, and it kicked us off again, I believe, 22 seconds in. So, I'm going to wait to see. Okay, so it says if I hit this button, I can't touch anything else. Okay, so here's the third and final take of, I guess if the computer freezes up on us this time, we're just going to keep going. We won't have any of the graphics or the videos that we're going to show you. Beth Mincin of Pens Initiative. I'm Dan Kingerski of PittsburghHockeyNow.com. We actually do have some locker room video with Matt Cullen last night. Cully talking, I hate when I use nicknames. Cullen talking about his mentoring of Daniel Sprong, not putting too much in his head. We have 35 seconds of Phil Kessel.
That's enough for the people.
Phil Kessel did a media scrum last night. It lasted 35 seconds. That was really all we needed, and we'll get to that. Hey, look, we've lasted more than 22 seconds on this.
It's the little
video.
Goals. The little goals.
We're going to get to a minute this time. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk on this here live chat. Do me a favor, and you can join us on the YouTube top chat. You can live chat with us. Also on Twitter, I can see those as well. We'll get to your questions, your comments. We'll talk about Juuso Riikola, Daniel Sprong. There's a little bit of a battle, or a big battle, Beth, for the 13th and 14th forward spots. I don't think the Penguins carry 14. There just isn't a reason. You save that salary cap room, and it's Zach Aston Reese or Derek Grant. And Mike Sullivan, I think, tipped his hand last night. And, of course, we'll get to some predictions for the roster and the season here on the live video chat. So let's start with Juuso Riikola. Beth, I didn't notice this guy in the first few days of camp. Some other people said, oh, wow, he's really good. I don't watch the defenseman that much. When I did, he just leaps off the page at you, doesn't he?
He does. No, I think he's really good. My issue is just, where does he fit?
Right. Well, we wrote on PittsburghHockeyNow.com today, and I kind of broke it down. In reality, he could be a Penguins top 6 defender, but that would require the removal of probably Olli Maatta. I could see this happening later in the season if Riikola proves himself in Wilkes-Barre. He's looked very good with the rubber bullets of preseason. When the real fire starts in the regular season, both in the American Hockey League and the National Hockey League, the game changes. The intensity goes up tenfold. And I think we have to see Riikola in the regular season action before we pound the gavel and say he is a top 6 defenseman. Do you agree, or do you actually want to see him in a 6 role right now?
No, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless, people love Maatta, people hate Maatta, whatever they do. You know what you're getting with him. Right. And you don't know what you're going to get, per se, in the regular season, like you were saying. I mean, preseason, rubber bullets. They're doing what they're doing. But I think I agree. He needs to prove himself a little bit before I'm willing to give him a top 6 spot. Yeah. That's a lot.
But in very short order, if the Penguins see that they have a wing at need, a need at wing or anywhere else for that matter, I think it is Olli Maatta. I was going just over the Penguins' defense today. And you don't remove a guy like Jamie Oleksiak for a Riikola because of just all the extra stuff that Oleksiak brings. No one else is going to bring the hammer like Oleksiak. So you keep him in. And Dumoulin and Letang work so well. And Dumoulin, by the way, is 6'3", 210, 215 pounds. He very quietly is a good net clearer. So, and Jack Johnson won't be on the trading block for this season unless he requests something, which doesn't seem very likely at this point. No, he seems pretty happy. I have to say, he seems really happy in Pittsburgh.
He does, and I'm sorry, but I watched him level somebody last night with a stiff arm, and he got me excited. I don't know. I got amped up.
I think Penguins fans, once they get over... Now, I'm going to blame you, your kind, all of you bloggers who jumped on him.
I commented last night that I never commented on it with reason because I always liked it.
But no, there was an online outcry when Jack Johnson was signed, and I think that really colored a lot of fans' perception. Well, if they all say he's terrible, he must be, and that really isn't the case. Jack Johnson is a solid. He's a tree trunk. At 6 foot tall, 220,
something like that.
225. Yeah. I mean, he moves well, and when he shoots the puck, it's heavy. So you don't take Jack Johnson out of the lineup.
No, unless you're crazy, maybe.
I'll say this: looking ahead to the future, if Riikola cracks the lineup, what a physical defense the Penguins could have very soon. With the quiet physicality of Dumoulin, Johnson, Alexiak, Riikola, all of a sudden the Penguins would be the team pushing the Capitals around, or even the Bruins.
And that's kind of what I think they wanted to do secretly. I mean,
I don't think there's any secret
about it. No, but I think that's what they were aiming for. The thing that I'll say about the Penguins is that they look at the mistakes that they make and they fix them. And
Jim Rutherford is not one to let moss grow on a mistake.
No.
Oh, that's wrong. I think you look at his offseason last year, and it wasn't very good. Last year they got caught flat-footed. The whole third-line center thing, the team itself was struggling, and they were chasing the setup almost all year. It seemed like, and then they get Brassard in at the last second, and when things don't gel, and then they were chasing that. But boy, Jim Rutherford was really good this summer, I thought.
He was. I mean, that's, like you said, he got caught flat-footed a little bit there for a bit. But for the most part, he makes the changes that he needs to make, and I can't ever criticize him for it.
No, Rutherford is... it's funny, because here's a guy who built a Stanley Cup, Jim Rutherford team in Carolina. He got burned a little bit towards the end of his tenure. Obviously, the former owner down there, Karmanos, was that the owner down there? Was really unhappy with him over the Alexander Semin signing, and a couple of things didn't go Rutherford's way. That the team scuffled and struggled. Jordan Staal was never quite the top six that Staal wanted to be, and so Rutherford kind of came to Pittsburgh as a second, third, fourth choice, and I think the fates maybe preordained that he would get this job. It seems meant to be. You can correspond with us on the Facebook page, or not the Facebook, the YouTube page, live chat, or on Twitter at PGH Hockey Now. Looking here for some questions. That was Vance, one of our commenters, let us know that Johnson just steamrolled. Let's jump ahead to Daniel Sprong now, because here is, I think, a really curious, interesting, debatable case. Last night, a longtime friend of mine who's, we don't want to say his name because obviously he's still working professionally. He doesn't need media attention. But he's a coach in juniors, coaches internationally for the tournaments and such. And so I'm like, okay, you're at the game tonight. Watch Sprong. I want detailed notes, the stuff that us media pukes wouldn't get. And he came back to me in the second intermission with a very strong report on Sprong. But I'll ask you this, Beth, in your opinion, though. Can Sprong stick in the lineup if he plays quietly and strong, or does he need, even with all of the hype around him, does he need to score more points? He has 1 assist this preseason.
I think that Mike Sullivan doesn't let any player get away with anything, and I don't think he's going to let Daniel Sprong just play quietly and not score.
Yeah, you're a big Mike Sullivan fan.
I am.
I've seen some of your writings, yes. I will say this about Sprong, and everyone wants to. It's really time to temper your expectations with Daniel Sprong. Stop expecting him to be a 30-goal scoring top 6 winger. It may happen. There may be another switch that flips. But to get to, this is his 4th year now. He burned through the 3-year ELC contract. This is year 4. To be where he is and to be so far off the head of the pin as he is. He's got a wicked shot, and he'll always have that, Beth. But I think it's time to understand this guy. At his career path right now is to be a bottom 6 forward who can chip in some offense. And I can't crack the fan base to kind of accept that. Everyone still wants him to be this top line 30, 40 goal guy.
Right. I don't think he's going to do that. I mean, I'm not delusional about it. But I do think that he is going to have to add more consistently than what he's doing right now to stay.
Well, that's Juuso Riikola. See, I had a little video with Riikola that we didn't get to, so there I used it because I spent 10 minutes making that with all the pretty movements. There's Daniel Sprong with the cute little Ken Burns type movement. Last night, Beth, one of the things that our coach told us was that surprised him a little bit about Sprong in the early going was how he and Cullen were very physical in the offensive zone. With Shan, they went to a classic cycle in the corner, back to the goal, face to the boards, moving the puck in the corner, pressuring the opponent's defense. And I think that's Riley Sheahan's game. And if Cullen and Sprong can play Sheahan's game and maybe bring Sheahan into their speed offensive game, that really could be a dynamic 4th line.
And that's fine. That's fine. I just didn't agree with the Daniel Sprong on Crosby's line, doing that over and over again. It just wasn't working, and I didn't really see the point of continuing it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It was a lot of hope in one hand. And I don't know if this is a Pittsburgh expression or not, but when you have a pile of hope in one hand, you know what you have a pile of in the other hand. I've never heard that expression anywhere else but Pittsburgh. I think that's where they were. I like Sprong and Cullen. And in fact, talked to Cullen a little bit about that last night. We can't hear the video, by the way, when we play this, but it will be here. And here's Cullen talking both about Daniel Sprong and about his role in being a little bit of a mentor.
Better and better, and so it's nice to have that, for sure.
Matt, is there any part of you that welcomes a new challenge?
Yeah, I do. I enjoy that. That's something that I've always enjoyed, and I think, in my time here, it's something that I've been, given a bunch of different challenges, and I really enjoy that. That's one of, the things that keeps me coming back is the new challenge and, trying new things and trying to succeed in different areas.
What do you think of Daniel and how he's played and the little time you've had as a line mate? Yeah,
actually, my first year here, we played together quite a bit early on, and so there's a comfort level there, I think. I thought tonight he was good, actually. I thought we created some offense. I thought he was moving. I thought as the game went on, he got more and more comfortable and made some good plays with the puck. And I thought tonight was a good night for him.
Matt, how much do you say to Daniel now that he's on your line? Do you talk him through some situations or anything?
No, I'm there for him. He'll ask the odd question, and if I have a thought, I'll share with him. And like I said, we played together a little bit my first year here. So there's a comfort level, and he knows he can come to me whenever he needs anything, and so I try to be there. And it's always a balance with offering your opinion, but also just allowing him to play. I mean, he's a great player, and sometimes you got to get out of your own way and get out of your own head. So it's about not giving somebody too much to think about. It's about helping them to get comfortable and play his game.
You know, don't put too much in his head was essentially, I think, Cullen's main idea. Talk when the kid wants to talk. Guide him if he's on the wrong path, but otherwise let him find his path. And what a bit of a gift it is for the Penguins to be able to pull Matt Cullen back, soon to be 42 years old.
I love Matt Cullen. You never have to convince me of that. I think on the ice and off the ice, he's just an asset to the Penguins.
He really has been. Boy, his sons are getting bigger, older. They were in the locker room the other day, and I was like, wow. Just since 2017, the parade, how much bigger his younger son is. I'll tell you this. In training camp, I was curious if Derek Grant was here kind of as Matt Cullen insurance. Like, okay, if Cullen has lost that step, then the Penguins have Derek Grant. Cullen may have gained a step.
I think so.
He looks fast. Maybe it's the year away that, you know, dulled my memory, but he looks faster now.
He was flying last night. I mean, literally flying.
Literally flying, or
literally, like actually flying. Like I didn't know Penguins could fly until last night, but they can.
There you go. Yeah. Matt Cullen has looked exceptional thus far in training camp. But NES Addict tells us that Cullen is the new Bill Guerin. I don't know. Guerin lost it at the end. Like when Guerin's second go around with the Penguins, and then we tried to go to the Flyers. The speed was gone really quickly, but Cullen is getting faster with age. There was something missing last year, and Beth, I'll just tell you from being in the locker room, I got beat up a little bit online because I kept saying there's something missing here. From June and July all the way through March, there was something in the locker room. It was a malaise. It was a false confidence. Oh yeah, no, we'll turn it on. Don't worry. And every time they really needed a win, they went out and usually got one, which kind of fed into that whistling past the graveyard feeling that I really had for that team. With Cullen, I don't think the Penguins will be able to do what Mike Sullivan termed as throwing around a lot of rationalizations. I think Cullen is a guy in the locker room that's, hey, wait a second, this isn't right. Everybody come to, everybody snap to. That was missing last year, and that's really why I have big expectations for this Penguins team.
I do too. I think that, like we said earlier, Rutherford did what he needed to do in terms of bringing Cullen back, bringing some of these players in that he needed to, and Cullen in the locker room is an asset. It just being there. Just having
Dad's there to keep everybody in
line.
His
experience, his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding of the game, and then if you add what he's been doing on the ice back, you can't replace it.
Yeah. Well, there are some things that I have noticed around the arena, and just for media coverage rules, I can't truly get into everything that we've seen. I think Daniel Sprong could use a friend. I
agree.
think he could use a consistent mentor. I don't always get the feeling that he's yet one of the boys or has acceptance, or I just, and that's not anything anyone's ever said or anything specific that I've observed, but it just feels like sometimes he's a little bit separated from the group, and I think Cullen could be a guy that could pull him in and get him on that right path.
I agree, and everybody needs that. Everybody needs that, and that could help him on the ice too. You don't know, but he definitely needs that. And, I mean, the Penguins are a hard team to come into, and not because any of the players are rude or because of anybody has an attitude problem or anything like that.
Right.
But they're good. They win. They are all really – they have a lot of superstars on the team that don't have egos, but they know what they're doing. And if you come in and you're falling behind...
And that core has been together since 2006,
right?
Essentially 2007. There's a lot of history there.
So talk about intimidating to walk into.
Yeah, I think Riley Sheahan was maybe a little intimidated coming in last year. We know Jim Rutherford even said that Matt Hunwick was a bit intimidated coming into the locker room last year. I think that's a personal thing, and having a guy like Cullen roll out the red carpet, not just Sidney Crosby.
Right.
But to have other players like that, do you think Cullen gets into coaching after this is all done?
I think he should. I think yeah, absolutely.
The question is, would he want to coach in Minnesota area, or would he go wherever the coach job takes him?
That's a hard question. He seems to want to be where he wants to be, so I wonder
if, and this is something that I haven't really had the courage to ask, and I don't think I ever would of him specifically, but I think it's acceptable for us to ponder or wonder if he regrets going back to Minnesota last year, and if that maybe taught him a little bit of a lesson that sometimes home is where your house is for 4 months a year, but home is also where you fit and where you're loved and where you love them and they love you. I think he may have learned a little bit of something about himself by going to Minnesota.
I think, you know how sometimes they say you need to do something to learn the lesson? I think he had to do it and figure that out and realize that he liked Pittsburgh, he liked the organization, he enjoyed being here, and then he wanted to come back. And Rutherford needed it too, honestly.
Well, they waited last year for Cullen until the day he signed in Minnesota. They were surprised by that. They held their entire offseason up a little bit for Matt Cullen. Don't forget to chat with us here on the YouTube page. Also, click that subscribe button for us. So we want to get to 1,000 subscribers in October. That's the goal now. We hit phase 1, 500. Did that in less than 4 weeks. We want to get to 1,000 in less than 4 weeks as well. Because when we hit 1,000... that's when the fun really starts. We can start doing a whole lot more, not just the live chats, but pre- and post-game shows, also just topic videos for you. We've got the wall that you can't see. The other side of our office here is in construction. We can't really finish everything until we get past 1,000. Maybe we'll do it a little sooner. But so click that subscribe button for me, if you could. Let's talk about that 13th and 14th forward battle. Mike Sullivan tipped his hand last night. Asked a question about Daniel Sprong fitting in as the fourth line winger. Sullivan always cautions us, and I think he's looking at me when he says it, not to read too much into things, sometimes that we infer things that he never meant to say. Now that I put the disclaimer out there, I'm going to dive into inferring what he didn't say. Asked a question about Sprong on the fourth line. He hemmed and hawed, and that's not Sullivan-like. And he's like, well, any of our young players in that position, be it Dom Simone, Daniel Sprong, Zach Aston Reese. And I was like, wait a second, you were just asked a question about Daniel Sprong. To purposefully omit Sprong in your answer, at least to start, it was very curious to me. And then to include Zach Aston Reese in the answer was also, I think, very telling. I think Derek Grant goes to the American Hockey League, and I think the Penguins are going to end up eating that $650,000.
I'm with you.
You agree? You
I
think
agree.
That's what's going to happen? You think Zach Aston Reese stays?
I think Zach Aston Reese stays.
Okay.
I do.
That makes my life easy.
I aim to please.
You're like my Robin Quivers.
That's what I'm here for.
If we can get Beetlejuice in here, then I'll be a really happy guy.
Let's work on it.
I've never met Beetlejuice.
Let's work on it.
Yeah?
Yeah. He has to have a Twitter or something, right?
Oh, you've never seen Beetlejuice's Twitter?
No, and I really feel like I should not go down the rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole worth going down 11, 12 o'clock at night. Just roll through Beats tweets.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
There you go. You're set. I'm glad I could help out. And Howard Stern really needs the extra listeners. I'm glad we could help him too. Just throw him a little little nugget. Let's get rid of that and put back up the Pittsburgh Sports Live. Oh, you know, I want to get to Zach Aston Reese and Derek Grant, but we did promise the greatest American hero, who actually just got the notification as we were going live on the air. Phil is receiving an award in D.C. today, which I can't imagine the circus that Washington, D.C. is today. I mean, there's nothing else going on. Yikes.
Phil Kessel, American hero.
Yeah, he is receiving an award, a Cancer Awareness Award in D.C. Here is that 35-second Phil Kessel media scrum from last night.
Make a play. Idea. No, it was just shoving that, I don't know.
Did you know that second one was in?
I know.
Did you know they were going to review it?
I mean, I don't know. Preseason, I'm not sure what they do anymore. It is what it is, right?
Phil, it looks pretty seamless. You guys coming back? Do you guys look like you?
So there you go. There's Phil Kessel essentially saying, yeah, we're kind of ready for the season.
Man of few words.
I know you love Phil Kessel, and actually, I think the fan base's love of Phil Kessel has transformed. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. It's not of Phil Kessel. It's for Phil Kessel. The Penguins fan base love for Phil Kessel makes that enjoyable. Makes a 35-second media scrum a humorous footnote to show you, where other players, I think we'd be upset.
I just think it's because he is who he is, and we all know who he is, and 35-second media scrum just does not surprise me from Phil.
Yeah.
Crosby would talk for 4 hours. Phil is like, we're ready.
Yeah, Crosby would make sure every last question was answered. And unfortunately, in the playoffs, when the Penguins lose a little bit of control to the national team with the NHL, I've been in 15-minute-long Sidney Crosby media scrums, and you're just praying to God somebody calls the fight. Because, the national folks who haven't been here all season love to rehash. And in fairness, they haven't printed the same Crosby story 4 times all season. And so their readers might want to read about Crosby playing with Hornquist to start the season in April. But we'll have done it 4 times by then.
Right. We're spoiled here, I think.
I think we are. I'll give... maybe we have to be careful a little bit about this, but this has been a bit of a golden age of Penguins coverage, I think. The transition from Dave Molinari at the Post-Gazette, who did just a Hall of Fame job, to Jonathan Bumboli at the Trib, who I think is spectacular, Jason Mackey, Josh Yohe. There are some guys on the beat, and we're still trying to get on the beat. We haven't given up that dog yet, but we're still going through some growing pains with that. I think those 3 guys are bringing better coverage than at any point in the last 30, 35 years.
Oh, I agree.
You do? Like, who do you like? Like, on a Tuesday morning after a game, who do you grab to read?
Honestly, I read a lot of Yohe's stuff because I think he's unbiased about it. He's kind, but he's unbiased. And
kind, you're right.
And I like that. I like that. I mean, I'm obviously not particularly always kind with my sports takes.
I'm not kind. So I missed that, Gene. Oh,
me too.
And someone mentioned Rob Rossi did very well. Yeah. Rob
yes.
on the beat.
Rob's great.
Rob stirred the pot, or actually maybe I should say beat the hornet's nest by getting some stories that other people wouldn't print. And like this summer, the whole Phil Kessel thing. There are a couple of us who were given a surprising story and ran with it, to the chagrin of a lot of the paper-buying public who really wished and didn't want us to run with that. And I think maybe that was a lot of what Rob did on the beat as well. He got stories that weren't necessarily palatable, but were true.
And he's not scared to print them. I mean, he's not scared, and I respect that. I mean, he's not scared.
Yeah, I like Rob very much as well. So let's see what else on the top chat here on the YouTube page. Penguins need more Russians on the team. Kyle, are you having a little bit of nip with lunch there?
I don't think that's a requirement, Kyle.
Kyle, you sure about that? I mean, I was on board with Plotnikov a couple of years.
I mean, look,
ago.
I'm all cool with the Russians. I have no, if you want to bring some Russians in,
I'm
but
not Don Cherry here.
Don't think that should be a requirement.
There was only a couple Russians, and I forget his name. St. Louis was chasing a Russian defenseman a bit over the summer, and there was one guy I got a little bit of a scent that the Penguins, I think, watched a few minutes of video on. I can't confirm that firsthand. It was a secondhand kind of source who dropped that on us. And sometimes sources like to drop, like secondhand sources will drop something on you, hoping that you can drive their agenda a little bit. And fortunately, a firsthand source shot it down.
Well, there you go.
And I didn't tell the first-hand source who the second-hand source was, just to protect the second-hand source, all that. I got into the thick of it this summer. I was having a lot of fun. My first real summer as kind of a reporter instead of a columnist. I was having a blast. I don't know if a lot of you were having a blast with us, but we certainly did. Let's predictions now. 13. So we both think it's Zach Aston Reese who gets 13. The Penguins, despite giving Derek Grant an NHL-only contract, will not suffer a salary cap hit if they send Grant to the AHL, because the formula is this: it's the minimum salary, which is $650, plus $375. That's what you can recoup, or is it plus $350? Forgive me on $25,000, but that's the max you can recoup by sending a veteran on an NHL contract down to the AHL. Grant fits well within that, but the Penguins still will have to pay Grant his $650 if nobody claims him on waivers. And I kind of think somebody will. It took him 92 games to score his first NHL goal. When he did, he got 12 goals last year, 12 assists. I thought he was a bit of a force in Anaheim. The banged-up Ducks needed him, and he came through for them.
I agree. I have no problem with him. I like him, quite honestly. But I think he could get claimed, too. I'm not sure he's going to, if we decide to, send him down, that he'll make it down.
Yeah. Now, see, as a blogger, you're allowed to say we. There was a story. I think this is maybe why I fell out of favor at the Fan, because they had a contest winner. And they put the poor kid, like his second show, they put him with me. And I'm like, okay, I want you here like 2 hours before the show. We're going to go over all this stuff. Well, I think there was miscommunication on exactly what his job was. And he showed up on, not quite at the prescribed time. And he kept saying we. And it drove me insane. As like, okay, we're trying to be professionals here. Stop saying we. And I guess I spanked the kid a little bit too hard on the air. Forgive me, I forget his name. He kind of did a few more shows and didn't go anywhere after that. Didn't do anything else with them. I got the Family Feud buzzer, and every time he said we, the producer hit the. Looking back, it was kind of a dick move.
I would have done it.
Well, we've established you're not kind either. But I thought it was kind of funny at the time, and now I look back like, why did I do that? That was maybe a little bit too harsh, even for someone like me. Predictions for this season. We've kind of established that Riikola will be the 6th defenseman in waiting, playing down in Wilkes-Barre. Aston Reese is 13. Extrapolate the season now. What do you see? We're talking again in early April. What will have happened? Give me your feeling and your prediction on this season.
I honestly think at that point, I don't see Riikola. I'm not really sure if he'll ever hit that that top 6 because I'm not really sure that the 6 are going to have a problem. I'm not really convinced of that. I think.
Okay, but as a team though,
as a team, Penguins, I think they'll be in the driver's seat of being one of the top teams in the East, and I think they'll skate into the playoffs, and I think they'll face the Capitals again because we all know that'll happen.
I can't wait for that.
No, neither can I because I think we'll beat them this time.
Yeah. Oh, so the Penguins are actually a 1.8 to 1 favorite to win the Metro. The Caps are a 2.5 favorite. I have to think the Capitals have gained at least 10 or 15 pounds of beer weight this summer. When Tom Wilson said, "I'm not stopping until Brooksy tells me to stop."
Well, that tells you everything.
They've had a blast this summer. This was a much different celebration, I think, than the Penguins engaged in even 2016 because there was so much catharsis to the Capitals finally slaying the Penguins' dragon. And even Capitals fans in June were like, the cup would be great, but we beat the Penguins.
Oh. It's like their demon, and they had to exercise it.
That was more important to a lot of fans than the Stanley Cup.
It was.
You know, Jake Holmes, who wrote for Pittsburgh Hockey Now back then, he was had spent a few weeks in D.C. and went to a few concerts down there. He was having a good old time this summer. Was our boy Jake. And so he wrote a story, like at a concert one night, he saw a bunch of peoples in Capitals. Peoples? Saw a bunch of peoples, did he? I speak well. Write good, speak well.
I write good.
Write well, speak good. Saw a bunch of people in Capitals jerseys. And so went over, had a conversation, wrote the article about it. And that's what, the cup will be great. But the bigger thing was, I think the Penguins are set and poised for a very Tampa Bay-like regular season this year. Last year when Tampa Bay came in hungry and motivated, they just laid waste to everybody for the first 4 months until they even got bored with that and realized they were going to win the division, win the President's Trophy if they so chose, and had a clear shot to the Eastern Conference Final. And they took their foot off the gas, and then Washington out-physicaled them. The Penguins are going to lay waste to the regular season this year, but no one will be able to out-physical them with Alexiak, with Jack Johnson, with Zach Aston-Reese, with Hornquist. They're just such a makeover of the team, of the Penguins, in a very subtle way. They win the Eastern Conference going away. I don't think Toronto, with Toronto's awful defense, can contain the Penguins. I think the Penguins will run over them. Boston is a team that I keep waiting for, but if they didn't get it done last year, I wonder if they've hit their ceiling, despite all the talent with Solaric and the young kids and Charlie McAvoy. I wonder if they're topped out at a good team that never gets great. I don't see anybody who can beat the Penguins in the East. I still love Winnipeg and Vegas in the West, and that's going to be a slobber knocker of a Stanley Cup final.
Well, that would be fun.
I almost don't want Fleury to play a Stanley Cup final in Pittsburgh because I can't fathom those media scrums and the number of stories that would just make us, I think, all kind of stick our finger down our throat.
Oh, absolutely. Fleury is still a treasure here. He will always be, and he should be. He
is. But I don't want to have to write that 15 times in a 4-day period.
No.
Marc-Andre Fleury, former Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender, now goaltender even 2-3 years on. He's moved on. We've all moved on.
When we kept Matt Murray over Marc-Andre Fleury, it's like, okay, we get it.
Oh, no, I didn't even think of that Twitter meltdown if that Stanley Cup final were to occur.
That's what I'm saying.
See, you're in touch with the internet side more than
the we.
The you're in touch with the we. Alrighty, I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We've done our 40 minutes in the third try. We finally got there. Click on that subscribe button. Check out Pittsburgh Hockey Now. For Beth Mincin, check out the Pens Initiative, a fun blog that's been around since the early days. They're one of the originals.
Yeah, they are.
You've been keeping them afloat with Medina over there and I think our Mike Asti even rolled through the Pens Initiative.
He did.
So
he did.
So we've got Pens Initiative alumni everywhere. Tweet me at the Dan Kingerski or at PGH Hockey. Now, we'll do this again next week. We'll do another live Pens chat here from the Pittsburgh Sports Live studios. Until we talk again, kids, have fun.